Hey, everybody. Welcome to this episode of Samp&Chance. On today's episode, we're going to take a look at AEW a little bit. We're going to take a look around the wrestling world a little bit. So, guys, strap in and thank you for letting us into your ears. Hey, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Samp&Chance. I'm your host, Bobby Sampson. Joined with me, as always, my man with the master plan with the Triple G shirt today. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Chance, Michael's Chance. How are you, buddy?
I'm doing good. How about yourself?
Can't complain, my friend. It is Tuesday. That means wrestling day. We started something new last night with a Raw review. So got that out of the way. So today we just kind of focus on wrestling and wrestling only. Well, I mean, other parts of wrestling, I guess, right? The other promotions and things that are going on in the wrestling world. But before we get to any of that, we did touch on it last night, and I think we should just probably touch on it one more time here today. Yesterday, the local independent scene here in Vancouver lost a name. Dropkick Murphy passed away yesterday. Unfortunately, causes unknown. I don't know. I'm not sure if you know anything. 24 hours later, Chance, but
I do, but I don't want to say it till they release it officially. But I know.
Right, a big blow to the community, to the wrestling community on a whole. Dropkick Murphy, from what I understand, was a big fixture here. Took a leave of absence for a little while to get his health and body back up to par, and I believe he just made his comeback this year. And I tell you what, man, I met Dropkick in the early 2010s, I guess, at that time when he was a part of ECCW. And at that time, I thought he was just a really, really nice guy. In the last year, I've met him maybe 3 or 4 times, again, just on the go, and just overall genuine, kind-hearted, very nice individual looking, 6'4", just a big guy. But he had the heart of a teddy bear from what I gathered. I mean, I wasn't a close friend or someone that I really spent a lot of time with, but from the interactions that I had with him, he was a phenomenal man and just a really, really nice guy. I know you had more with him. Maybe you can share a little bit more about Dropkick, Chance.
Yeah, he was very nice, very friendly, very humble, very sensitive. Sometimes his sensitivity got to him. That was why he would punish himself when he's very sensitive. Most people from that world are very sensitive. That's one thing people don't understand about that. But yeah, he's a great guy, always helping load the ring, helping us get storage. He's always good with my kid. Even at the last show when we were backstage, he's the first guy to come up, talk to me, talk to my kid. He's just a great guy, a good wrestler, a good character. He was only 40. He was still young, and sad what happened. But yeah, he's a great guy. There's not most guys in indie wrestling aren't very nice guys, but he was one of the handful of guys that are very genuine and very friendly. So rest in peace to Michael Willis.
Yeah, I hope that whatever he was suffering from, it's gone now, and he's being accepted with open arms from the Father upstairs. So, nothing but the best to him, and wherever his soul takes him. I have not much more to add to that. Just a genuinely nice, super guy. And if that's the impression that he left, just in a passing conversation, I can only imagine what it was like to be with him. More so. I don't know.
Absolutely, yeah, he's a great guy.
All right. Well, you know what? Let's move on. Vinnie Mac says the show must go on, as we said last night. So the show does go on. So why don't we start with AEW? We've never really gotten too deep on AEW, never really broke it down per se. I mean, if anything, I don't think we've been very complimentary of AEW. And that's not because it's a bad promotion. I just think with our time spent in this industry as fans and people behind the scenes and, being involved in the business, to a certain extent, not necessarily taking bumps or anything, but understanding how the business works and everything. I think that's where a lot of
I've taken many bumps in that training ring for many years.
No, 100%, right?
I know what you mean, though.
Right, but just because of where we come from in the world of wrestling,
Mhm.
I mean, if you think about it, we could be considered aficionados. We just know the
Mhm.
business, we understand it without
Yeah.
taking the bumps and whatnot. But AEW, man, before we came on the air, I wanted to brush up as much as I possibly could on AEW and see what's going on. I will still maintain this. I mean, there is a lot of issues within that company right now. One being that Jungle Boy. I want to start with this because I thought this was kind of interesting. The whole incident that stemmed back in the summertime where Punk got suspended, eventually got fired, because Punk was trying to show the younger guys the right way to do something. Now, I don't know if this is something that's, particular just to the indie scenes or guys who coming off the indie scenes into promotions thinking they know everything. I don't think
Well, like I
Punk
said
is,
before, Punk always thinks he's the smartest guy in the room, and he's not. So
well,
he's arrogant. He's an arrogant prick. He
okay,
rubs people the wrong way, right? So
right. But in this case, I don't think he was wrong in trying to give the advice that he was about using glass, real glass, and stuff like that. I mean, those things can hurt. Look at Goldberg. He punched his
yeah,
hand
but
through
why
that.
is Punk doing that? Why isn't the agents backstage doing that? Why are they letting this guy who's moody, he's grumpy, he's a miserable guy, he hates everything? Why are you letting this guy be the liaison to younger
Because
talent?
the agent's not doing their job, because
That's the problem.
well,
Sorry.
that's the thing, right? So, I mean, AEW is WCW of this generation in essence. Yeah, it's a number two promotion,
with,
but
with with less ratings and less cool talent and stuff. Yeah,
right, but overall, generally speaking, right? I mean, if there is a number two, it would be AEW.
yeah,
They have the financial backing, they got the money and everything, so that just, you know, by default makes them that, right? But I think after that, that's when they started to change everything, bringing in people to take charge of certain things. But here's my point. So Jungle Boy was also suspended from that. That was 3 months ago, and in that time, Punk's made his debut in WWE. Jungle Boy, he's cleared, but he's nowhere to be seen. They don't know what
yeah.
to do.
What's going on with him? If he's hurt or he's just pissed off that he got suspended, I'm not sure
No, they're just
what
not
he's
using
doing.
him. They're
Yeah,
just
punishment. Still
basically not
punishing him.
using him. They haven't mentioned him on TV. Rumor has it he might be that guy behind the devil mask, with the MGF story. But again, that's all speculation. But since that moment, he has not been on TV. He's not been seen. Um, nothing at all. Yet Punk, here he is, thriving, moving on. And the one thing I will say this, I went back and I watched the promo that he cut when he came to W or AEW, and I compared it to the promo that he cut to a couple weeks ago, I guess, when he was on Raw. Such a different promo, such a different level of appreciation, a different level of, you could tell that Punk was happy to be back in
There's
WWE.
only one thing CM Punk cares about, and I've said this to him for years. He looks like a punk rocker. He's supposed to be Mr. Independent. I don't care about the big man. The only thing this guy loves is money. And he goes where the money is. He's a money hawk. He just loves his money. And he even said it. He's trying to be like a heel, kind of snarky, but I'm not here to make friends. I'm here to make money. That's exactly why he came back. He wants one more huge payday. He's 45 before he rides off into the sunset. The guy is an all-around jerk. He's just a bad guy. That's the only way to describe it. He rubs everybody the wrong way. He's arrogant. He's rude. He's the smartest guy in the room. He's the best wrestler in the room. He's just so full of himself. And he tries the toughest fighter. He went to UFC and embarrassed himself. Like he's just not a good guy.
Yeah, fair
He's a
enough,
good
brother.
talent. It doesn't make him a good guy.
Well, fair enough, fair enough. I mean, let's just hopefully he turns it around here, and
Oh, he
maybe
will. He's on his best behavior. He's getting paid well. He's not going to mess up his money.
no, but I just hope that with everything he's gone through this last final. I mean, this has to be his last run, right? There's not
Yeah,
much more you can do with him, but I mean,
he'll have a good run. He's going to go all out. He's going to give it his best. If he can stay injury free, he'll have some good matches. And
yeah,
he's going to have a good run. But he's just, he's fighting guys. He's picking on Jungle Boy and the Young Bucks. These guys, they couldn't harm a fly.
nah,
He's
I don't
picking
know
on
if
guys
he's
more
picking
than
on
him.
them, if it's just the
Well, he's
advice
choking them
thing.
and he's fighting them, right?
Well,
He's
I mean,
picking
he
on the
has a
weak.
different approach of doing it, right? I know what his goal is. I get it. Look, I'm not defending Punk in any way. All I'm
Mhm.
saying is I understand what he's trying to do, but it also puts into perspective the attitude of that roster in general. I mean, we've talked about this before. I'm going to bring up this name because I know there's something you want to talk about in regards to this individual. And I've stated this before on the show. William Regal and Daniel Bryan, or Brian Danielson, sorry, they opened up an open forum for everyone to come and learn from one of the best in William Regal. Regardless what anyone says, I think Regal is one of the best minds in wrestling. To have that opportunity to go under that learning tree, to work with these guys, no one took those opportunities. They didn't want it. That just kind of shows. So it's a two-way street, right? Like, I mean, what were those guys saying to him? Blah blah blah. I know what you're saying. Don't get me wrong. I think Punk, being the elder statesman, should have shown a better level of decorum and whatnot. He didn't
But
bring
you can't.
himself out.
It's not the 90s and early 2000s, 80s, where you can't put your hands on people like he was doing, right? And he's only putting his hands on guys he knows he can beat up. Young Bucks and Jungle Boy couldn't harm a fly. These guys are wimps. They're weak. And he knows that. So he's picking on them and doing that. He wouldn't pick on a guy his own size that could fight back. That's what I mean about Punk. He's that really arrogant, smartest guy, toughest guy in the room. And he's neither of those things, but he portrays himself as that. So he's picking on the weak. And even if what he said to Jungle Boy is true, and what he said to Young Bucks is true, you can't strike him like that. You can't choke him. You can't do all that. He attacked first. He could have been charged, right? Nowadays, you can't touch anybody. You'll be charged. And he's lucky they didn't charge him. That's just what happens in the world now. And he was way out of line with that. Whether he was in the right of what he said, you can't put your hands on these guys. Not the new generation. They don't tolerate that.
Fair enough. All right. So Daniel Bryan, wanted to touch on this. I know you wanted to talk about this a little bit. Why don't you start us off on this one?
Yeah, I guess nobody knew about it, but I guess he's part of the committee that helped get Punk fired. Supposed to be his friend. I guess he just doesn't like CM Punk. I thought that was kind of a snake move on his part, but I guess Daniel Bryan's trying to get a higher up role in the company, and he felt, let's get Punk out of here. He's one of the catalysts that are removing him. I think if Daniel Bryan would have went the other way, he probably could have convinced Tony Khan to keep him on, but yeah, he's one of the main people to help to ask him to be removed, which I was surprised. They're supposed to be the indie, anti-authority, big business people, and here they are talking about money on committee boards. Like, they just find it very strange. These guys,
you got to figure. I'm not defending Daniel Bryan or anything about it either, but look where he came from. Look what he learned, what system he learned, right? I mean, at the end of the day, yeah, as independent of a wrestler you are, you spent a lot of time up north. And up north, they teach you that the business is bigger than any performer.
But why is Tony Khan allowing Daniel Bryan to make decisions about your business?
Why is Tony Khan allowing people to do the things that he does, right? Yeah, I mean, it all comes down to leadership. And if we're going to point fingers, we got to point fingers at that level of leadership.
Absolutely. He needs to bring in some strict disciplinarians. Actually, Chris Jericho said today, he wishes everybody, and this is going to piss off Triple H fans, and I love that he said this, he wishes everybody under the AEW umbrella would work 6 months under Vince McMahon. If you don't do the task that he asked you to do, you're going to be severely punished. At AEW, that doesn't happen. For Jericho to say he knows, right? And that's just, he's basically saying the level of leadership. Nobody respects Tony Khan's authority. They like him. He's a nice guy. He's one of the boys, but they don't respect him, and they walk all over him, and look what's happening.
I think what Tony Khan is, he's the money, right? And in talking with some of the local guys here about such kind of things, when a bunch of them were over in Uruguay, in South America, the guy with the money was trying to be chummy with the boys and this and that. And, the boys were kind of chummy with him, but they knew that all he was the money, right? They called the shots, they called everything. And that's basically what's happening here is basically, if Tony Khan ran AEW the way he runs Fulham, the way he runs the Jaguars, where he's the actual owner, and people respect him as the owner, sort of a deal in those arenas, things might be different. But here, because he's a fanboy, right? And it's no fault of his. To be fair, man, if I had that kind of money and I was able to put a promotion like this together, chances are in the beginning, I'd be a huge fanboy too, just having all these guys around me. You know what I mean?
But what is he fans about? He didn't grow up watching any of these guys. He's older than some of these guys. So what are you a fan of? It's hard to be a fan of guys when you're younger than. Like, I could see if you're in the room with Hulk Hogan or Ric Flair. Oh my God, I grew up watching. When you're in the room with Jungle Boy and Young Bucks, you're older than these guys. How are you? You can respect their talent and like them, but try to be their buddies. This is Jungle Boy, Young Bucks guys. So I don't understand why he can't separate that.
What? But because when I say fanboy,
look how he dresses. He doesn't even dress like a boss.
Well, what I mean is when I say a fanboy, like, he's just a mark. He's a wrestling mark.
No, I know.
Right? Like, I mean, he's he likes the old guys and Sting and whatnot, and he has them on the roster. But I mean, ultimately, at the end of the day, the guy is just a fanboy of wrestling, right? I
Yeah.
mean, and to be fair, he is of the generation that most of the guys that are young are in, right? Where they think they know everything. They
Mhm.
think that wrestling is all about spots, and they're moving away from the stories. And I think that's a big proponent of the sport. Storytelling is huge. Without storytelling, there's nothing. You just got people rolling around in their underwear. I mean,
For the younger, but I think I know what Tony Khan's trying to do there, and I see it because when I watch wrestling with my kid and their friends, the younger kids, they don't really care about the story. They want to see 20 flips. They want to see a guy go to the table. So I know what he's trying to do. The people 30 and up may want a great story and intrigue, but the younger fans, like 8 to 16, they're not really invested in the story. They want quick shorts. Oh, they see that flip he did? Cool. They're done with the match.
and
So
that's
that's what
why
he's going for.
wrestling is the way wrestling is today. And
Yeah,
that's what I've
I
been
know, but that's
saying
what he's
forever
going
and
for.
ever, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's not about size or body size anymore. It's about who can do the greatest spots, right?
Gymnastics, turning gymnastics. A lot
Yeah,
of it.
yeah. A lot of it is, right? It's tumbling, it's Circus Soleil for men in
Yeah,
a sense,
a
right?
lot of it. Some of the new guys are, yeah, absolutely, especially in AEW.
Yeah.
There's
But
still some guys there like Jericho and Sting, and there's some guys that are trying to tell a story and draw you in. But I just noticed watching my kids and his friends on the phone, they want to watch shorts. Well, you see this, what happened? You see Ricochet's move? Okay, next. They don't really want to sit there and listen to a guy talk for 20 minutes anymore.
yeah, like I mean, last night was a great example of storytelling. We had, that opening match, it was great
It was
storytelling
good, yeah.
between Drew and Sammy, and just the way that they conducted business to get Drew over. That match wasn't for Sammy, it was for Drew to get over, to get that
Yeah.
character, that meanness over, right? So I think that's what's lacking in AEW. The other problem I find with AEW, I think, is the fact that they just have way too many people on that roster. And you're cutting a lot of people that probably should be on the show that aren't. Like guys like Miro, and I use Miro as an example because he left WWE because he felt he wasn't being utilized enough. I
Yeah.
think the guy in total has had a total time of maybe 3 weeks in total time,
Yeah.
right? Of 3 weeks of being on TV,
Yeah. He hasn't, I don't remember the last time he's even been on TV.
right?
So,
Andrade, another guy, right? Like these are really good talents that you're not using properly.
yeah, but there's only so many guys you can put on the show, too, right? Maybe he
No,
thinks the guys
no.
he's using are better than these guys. They don't deserve to be on the show, or they're rubbing him the wrong way, maybe. A lot of politics, a lot of ego backstage. Tony's a very sensitive guy. His feelings get hurt really easy.
Well, there is dissension backstage, right? Talent's
Yeah.
not happy. People aren't happy with the executives. Apparently, they hired one former WWE guy, and within a couple weeks of being there, he fired some people, and that didn't go over very well with the people in the back. Kind of why is this WWE guy here, and how come he's firing people that have been here? He fired a guy called Mike Sullivan, Kevin Sullivan, sorry, not the wrestler, some other guy. And people are up in arms over that. So those guys need to figure out their stuff, man. They got a big show coming up this weekend with no fanfare. And here's the funny part: you got Edge versus Christian on this card. First time in almost 15 years that these guys have fought. Considering everything they've both gone through, whatnot, here they are. They're going to face off this Saturday, and I hear
Collision.
crickets in the room.
I'm just thinking, I was just going to say, why? What was the point of that match? I mean, we've seen it. How many times these guys tag team went together? Like, do we really need to see Edge versus Christian again?
Well, I think it's just a storyline that the way it's kind of come in, the way Age came in, he wanted to be his friend. Christian had nothing, wanted to do nothing with him, running away. I mean, the story itself is really good. If you actually go back and watch it a little bit, those two guys are putting on a great, what do you call it? Program together,
Yeah.
It is pretty good, but this is the other problem. I mean, we're only talking about problems. I wish I could say some good things, but the other problem is attendance. I mean, outside of some of the big shows, these guys cannot draw worth a lick. I mean, literally, you could buy an upper bowl ticket and have a floor seat at the end of the night.
I think they're doing too many shows. They got 3 shows a week. Dynamite, Rampage, and Collision. You got to drop one of them. You don't need 3 shows.
But they
3 big
record
shows.
everything in one night, I
What's that?
believe. They record it all in one night.
They do Dynamite and Rampage on the same night?
I believe so.
I'm not sure of that, actually.
Yeah. For the most part, they do. For the odd one, they'll do a live one depending where they are. But for the most part, Rampage and
Well, Collision's somewhere different, though.
Collision
Pretty
is
sure.
usually the Saturday show, right? So that
Yeah.
one might be live. But for the most part, Rampage, the Thursday, or sorry, the Wednesday and the Thursday recorded on the same day.
How can you possibly do, because those are three big shows for them, right? How can you possibly have three big shows a week and keep them in people intrigued and want to tune in? It's too much. At least WWE only has two big shows a week, right? And then if you count the pay-per-view, NXT is not a big show, right? Two big shows. You have three big shows they're trying to do. It's too much.
I want
Like,
to call Rampage a big show though. It's only 1 hour.
it's their SmackDown though, right?
Yeah, but it comes on at like 10 o'clock at night Eastern.
No, I know it's a weird time. It's like, do they really need that much wrestling on? They're oversaturating themselves. Less is more here. Do your Dynamite and then maybe do a Collision Rampage. Drop one of them and take some of your talent and make the stories better. They have too much talent, throwing them all over the shows and just all over the place.
Fair enough.
There's some good workers in there. There's some good wrestlers in there that I like. Don't get me wrong, but it's just, I don't know, maybe Tony Khan will work out his kinks, but he's got to hire some better people to give him a hand. Some disciplinarians in there that can control these guys a little bit.
Yeah, no, 100%. I totally agree. But, I mean, if you start doing that, I think people are not going to want to be there anymore, because right now it's that kind of place where you can do whatever you want, when you want, and how you want. As soon as you add some structure, people are going to shit. People are going to walk away. People aren't going to want to
let them go. Let all the guys that don't want to listen, let them go. They're not going to go to WWE. Let them go to the indie scene then. Let them suffer. You're going to lose a few $100,000 a month or, or a year, whatever your price is, and let them go. Keep the guys that want to listen. That'll change things really quick around there.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
That's what I think.
No, fair enough. Anything good about AEW?
Yeah, they got some good talent. They got the best commentators. I've always said that they got better. I don't care for WWE's Michael Cole on Raw and SmackDown is too much. Wade Barrett, I don't think his voice is great for commentating. Although I like what he says, just don't think he has that voice that grabs you.
I kind of like him.
I like him. He says. I just don't like that voice.
Well, I like the voice. See, for me, I like the voice having British background and
I like Lord Alfred Hayes, but Barrett's got that rough voice. I don't like that. He doesn't have a smooth commentating voice, but he's good though.
Yeah. No, I mean, I enjoy him for what we have on WWE. I'd have to say that I do enjoy him. I think the one commentator, I hate his voice for the life of it. Just his commentating voice, Booker T. Booker T.
Yeah, he's not a good commentator.
It just, I don't know, something about when he starts talking and, just, I know what he's trying to do, but I can't get behind him, man.
No,
but that being said, Booker T, I mean, that guy, he's a prime example of a guy who's willing to do what it takes to get to the top, right? I mean, let's think about it. Booker T was a guy who had a feud with Stone Cold and The Rock, back to back, wonderful feuds. And then he goes into a program with Goldust.
Yeah.
Right. And he could have like, what are you guys doing? Look where I just came from and what I was doing. And now you're putting me with this guy, sort of a deal. So to not take nothing away from Goldust, future Hall of Famer, in my opinion. But the fact that he said, okay, you know what? I'm going to make this the best program. I'm going to be the best part of this team. I'm going to do everything I can. I think that speaks a lot to Booker T. Just from that perspective, I just wanted to throw that in there since we were talking about it.
Commentating wise, AEW I feel has a much stronger team than WWE does. I think they got to find another commentator either for Raw or SmackDown. Hearing Cole both times is too much. That's 5 hours a week plus maybe sometimes 8 hours a week on Michael Cole. He's not bad, but he's not like no. The AEW for sure better. I prefer their commentating teams.
I mean, outside of maybe I don't know. I mean.
Pound for pound roster wise, I mean, WWE has the better talent by far. It's not even close.
Yeah, I'm kind of torn on the commentary because I like Tony Schiavone. I don't mind him. I don't mind Excalibur. But at the end of the day, I think for me, I still would go with the WWE. That's just my opinion. I prefer the WWE guys. And
I noticed another thing with the commentating is not as good without Vince in their headsets anymore. I noticed the commentating has went down. They're not pumping it as hard. They're not getting as amped up. I know Cole was dancing and being goofy when CM Punk came around, but like you can know Vince is a genius, and when he's in your headset, you got to be on your A game. Vince ain't in your headset, you're not always on your A game. You got nothing to fear. So I've noticed that too with Vince not in the headset, that the commentating isn't quite as strong, not quite as structured. You're letting Cole freelance a little bit more now. You can see he's good, but he's just not. I don't think he's an all-time great. I know he's got longevity, but yeah, AEW, I give him the edge on the commentating.
Fair enough, man.
But the roster WWE has a better roster, though.
Yeah, for sure. All right,
AEW has their talented guys too.
Yeah. Anything you want to talk about?
No, I think we pretty much covered it all. The news notes were all up to date.
Pretty much. Nothing. Oh, Sunny, 17 years, man. She got.
This is her second or third DUI, but she killed somebody this time. It's too bad. It's a sad fall from grace. She was once a beautiful lady. I mean, she's always had mental illness. But I guess she just couldn't control her drinking. She was drinking all the time, drinking in her car. She's been busted a few times for this. I mean, will she serve the full 7 years? The judge says she will. I don't know. Maybe she'll get out in 7, 8 years on some good behavior. What is she in her mid-50s?
Yeah, but she'll come out an old woman.
Yeah, 60, 70 is sad. Sad fall from grace. She was a top diva in the mid-90s.
Oh, she was the main diva. I mean, she's the one who kind of, if you think about the whole women's revolution, I mean, it really, with all due respect, it started with Sunny.
Mm-hmm.
Sunny to Sable to everyone else that was there. But I mean, Sunny was probably that first catalyst that triggered it all.
Didn't she date Shawn Michaels for a bit too?
I think she dated a lot of people. She was with Chris Candido. She was with Shawn Michaels.
Sure.
Apparently she, the one thing I will say is I don't like her using Candido's death as one of the main reasons for her suffering and her fall down. Not to say that it didn't play a role, but I mean, you'd already broken up with him. You'd already cheated on him, to be fair.
Yeah, I agree with you. Yeah.
Right.
There's a bit of an excuse.
You can't really use that one, in my opinion. But then again, I don't know. I mean, who knows? I can't read her mind. Chance, you got a top 5?
I do. Yeah. What is the top 5 matches looking forward to in 2024? You can make them your own creation, right? Your own booking.
Yeah, I mean, I like to see CM Punk and we talked about this last night. CM Punk and Cody Rhodes would be fun. There's so many storylines there. You have the Triple H McMahon storyline that you can add in there. You can also throw in the fact that Cody could come at him and say, hey, I built this company. You went over there and tried to destroy it. Now you're here, sort of a deal. So the storylines there are endless. Other big matches that I'd like to see in 2024. I'm still holding out for Rock and Reigns. I don't think it's going to be a great match, but I just think the promos would be fun. I just think the hype and the build up to it, just having the Rock back on the scene would be kind of cool.
Yeah.
I don't know against 2, but I like to see John Cena win his 17th world title, just even if it's a 1-month run, whatever the case may be. I like to see that happen. That's 3. Who else would be a fun match in 2024? I'm stumped at this point. Oh, you know what? Brock and Gunther would be a lot of fun as well. I'd really love to see that match happen as well. That's 4. And number 5. I'm drawing a blank, man. I can only think of 4. Do you got a 5?
I would like to see Punk versus Brock, just simply because you can pull that UFC angle in there. Brock come out there and say, you thought you were me? You thought you were a natural athlete? You came in there, you lost to a couple Joe Blows, and you embarrassed yourself. I became the champion like that. You're not a real athlete. You could have a good program off of that.
You could have a good program.
People forget one major thing here. Punk's seen what Lesnar did. He wasn't a high school wrestler. He wasn't an all-time collegiate wrestler. He wasn't a former NFL player. He's a regular Joe Punk. We thought he was an elite athlete. He learned really quick. That's not the case. And so you could have a huge program off of that. I'd like to see that.
For sure. All right, brother man. Why don't we wrap this up here? Get the day going. Happy Tuesday to you. I hope the rest of the week treats you well, my friend, and everything goes accordingly and happily. And we will connect again on Thursday for boxing. So until that time, and in the words of Ed Whalen, in the meantime and in between time, that's it for Samp and Chance. I'm Bobby Sampson. He's Chance Michaels.
In the words of the great AC/DC, those that download, like, and subscribe to the podcast, we salute you.
We do salute you, guys and gals. We are entering the Christmas season. So from now till the end of the year, everybody's going to have their Christmas parties and whatnot and little festivities. So guys, please remember to stay smart. Remember to stay safe. Be safe on the roads, be safe to yourselves and just be safe for your families. That's all we can ask for. We'll see you guys on Thursday. Samp and Chance are out.